Okay, question.
Sure.
At the certainty of irritating the president of the board, Nancy, I wanted to let you know that I did know the number of students and classes in the borough. The head custodian showed me the list. They have a list, how many desks they have to move in. And, before this all happened, there were plenty of classes that had 30 kids in it. The only thing that I hope everybody understands is that with the budget cuts, we let a lot of teachers go. And those teachers would have alleviated the overcrowding. But because of the reality of the budget cuts, that's why the classes are so crowded. And I don't know what people expect us to do, unless we get money to hire back these teachers. So I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you.
It makes a difference. I took a walk around some of the buildings, and there are a lot of classrooms that are empty. And these are classrooms that would have been occupied by teachers if all of the teachers were brought back this year. So it makes a difference.
Unfortunately, everybody knows this, but unfortunately, you can't take 12,000 kids and assign 2,000 to each high school and have 100 in every program and 20 in every classroom. Things just don't break down that way. And there's going to be differences. There's always going to be differences. Our job is to try to minimize them as much as possible. There was a question regarding the superintendent's car. It was fiscally irresponsible to return to the dealer at this point in the lease.
So they gave it to me.
So we gave it to Chris. It is, as a matter of fact, it's sitting outside the building right now. It is here for the use of the current superintendent during business hours. She does not take it home, and it... Oh, okay, sorry. She does take it home.
Because many times in the morning I'll go from my home right to one of the schools. But I live in Freehold Township, so it's not like I live very far away.
And one of the very few things that is at the sole discretion of the president of the board are the chairs of the committees and the membership of the committees. And I have to be very blunt, I am not of a mind to change the chair of the policy committee, and I do not see any conflict of interest. Did we miss any questions? I don't think so.
For buses for the competition, the band competitions. We have one competition, and I think we all have to put that too.
That's an item we were going to bring up tomorrow. We're meeting with the principals, that we were going to discuss that.
Also, you didn't confirm whether that away games for the band included Thanksgiving, the homecoming.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Resolved that the recommendation to restore winter track and band and cheerleading to away games and the Memorial Day parades and the Spooktacular be restored as recommended by the administration for the 2010-2011 school year. I don't think it's necessary to put that in there. I'll do that by transfer. That's a resolution.
Could I get a mover and a seconder on Mr. Boyce's resolution?
I'll move that.
I second. Moved by Mr. Bruno, seconded by Mr. Moses. Now that puts it on the agenda?
No, that's for ratification.
Okay. All right, so let's get that one out of the way, shall we? Comments, questions on the motion at hand? Seeing none.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Kayazin?
Yes.
Mrs. Canario?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes.
Mr. Placatello?
Yes.
Mrs. Sutera?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Can I have a question for Mr. Wilson?
No, I'm sorry, public comment is over.
No, it's only a question about the vote again. Sometimes it throws me.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Close.
There's a
Public comment
right
is
there,
over.
isn't it? When you take a vote, when his wife and his brother are both SECA members, isn't it that's a conflict because you're
No, it is not.
voting again?
It is not. It's not a conflict. It does not inure to the benefit at all. And then you can't ask a question like that. I'm sorry. Resolution is right. I'll talk to you.
I have a lot of questions.
moving on to our agenda. Items H1 through H4 with the yellow addendum. Could I have a mover and a second, please? Moved by Mr. Bruno, seconded by Mr. Kayati. Questions, comments on H1 through H4? Uninterested? Was it something I said?
I just want to make a note that on H3, sorry, the one above H3, if you turn to page 7, that the approval of the Raise Academy staff had Peter B. on this agenda, but if you look at the addendum, that we are removing him, so it should not have been on this agenda. Just that you see that he's on and he's off. Yeah, very short. Thank you.
Okay.
That's right, Dr. Hazel?
Yes.
Other comments on H1 through H4? Seeing none. Mr. Bruno?
Yes. Mr. Kayati?
Yes.
Mrs. Canario?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mr. Moses? Yes. Mr. Placatello? Yes. Mrs. Sotero?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes. Okay. Okay, all that stuff on page 10. Do we have any of it? Old business, new business? Old business.
A couple of years ago when we had an initiative before we started making left turns and right turns at these meetings of looking at the midterm exams and using them as a tool to improve the overall academic performance of the district. The theory being, for example, that if there were unified exams provided and Manalapan, let's say, was doing heads and tails better than Colts-Neck, that we would look at and say, okay, what is Manalapan doing that Colts-Neck is not? Or if Howell was doing better than Marlboro on, their AP English, what is Howell doing that Marlboro is not? And I think we kind of lost our way on that mission because of all the mishigas in between. But I would ask that, knowing that these exams are coming up, that we kind of rededicate ourselves to the mission of education and use that as one of the vehicles for improving the overall quality of the education in the district.
An excellent suggestion. It was a very interesting initiative several years ago. In summary, just to say, identify best practices and implement them as widely as possible.
So I don't know whether you can bring that up at the principals level, the principals meeting, but I think that's a perfect way for us to gouge what we're doing and not waste a whole year to find out, to solve the problems of the year in June when we have the chance to do it in January.
Yeah, Mr. Placatello, in our core subject areas, we do have consistent midterms across the district, and the principals and the supervisors do spend a lot of time delving into the data, looking at comparisons across schools, and we do have teacher exchanges with our professional development corps, so that if there is a teacher, even within a building, you can see sometimes where the outliers are. How can we increase that communication within our buildings? How can we get teachers helping each other on various strategies on how they implemented the curriculum? So we've made some strides there. I think it would be a great opportunity to share some of that with the board and with the community.
Well, I think that would be good if we up the communication level.
Absolutely.
At one point, the board was getting reports, and there was input, and there was discussion at the board meetings, and there was input from the public, and it was very productive. So that we increase the communication about what's going on, and we can get positive constructive input from the public, from the board members, and for the benefit of everyone.
Our principals write objectives, correct? Yearly objectives, what a private organization will call an MBO. Do those objectives reflect the results of that data?
Absolutely.
Aligned with those?
And also with the data that's received from the HESPA and SATs and all the other assessments too that the students take. It's all of the New Jersey, the QSAT. It used to be the QUAR, quality.
So all those indicators that we need to address as we go through the various QSAT, there's different sections, but there's one on, instruction and program, and all of that, all of those indicators discuss what type of data we need to look at, what we have to report to the State Department. But Mr. Pless tells you that is something that we do here in this district and pride ourselves on.
Most organizations collect data well, and they plan well. But the best ones execute. And to execute, you definitely need a plan or at least a goal, objectives. And I'm glad to hear that they align their objectives with that.
I didn't extend the meeting beyond 8 o'clock for a comment.
Your work.
I don't know if anyone has it with them, the superintendent's report that I sent out last Friday that indicated that Marlboro High School has achieved adequate progress. They passed the language arts and the math portions of the test, as well as all the schools, with the exception of Nalabin, who has just fell short in the language arts portion of it. Last year, they fell short of in the math portion of it. That was brought up, and then they fell short with the language arts. So, but all the schools have passed, which is great news.
That's good news, yes, indeed. Okay, nothing else on page 10, old business, new business, so on. I need a motion to go into executive session. Moved by Mr. Kayase, seconded by Mr. Davis. All in favor? Opposed? We're in executive session.